Hello everyone. So we are going to be going over positioning for ice mines. It's been a hot minute since I recorded one of these. You guys can't tell because I think I'm uploading these all at the same time. But yeah. So we're talking about ice mines, and I don't like ice mines because I actually already recorded this video, and then I realized I was spectating the wrong account. So I was just a bot in spawn. Well, it was me talking, so we're going over it again, but I just figured I'd share my pain with you guys. Anyhow, Ice Mines, it's a pretty straightforward mid as long as you understand where the choke points are. Where the choke points are isn't inherently obvious, so that's most... Oh, I forgot to go over the jumps. Okay, so what I see some people do is they go around here, and that is slower than if... See, last time I recorded this I bought master riding, this time I forgot, but it's fine. That is actually slower than going down here. And that jump takes a while to like get the hang of. You have to... It's easier with no master riding, and master riding 1 is pretty straightforward too. Master riding 2 is a bit more difficult. You gotta kinda jump down, and then you have to use like the S and A and D keys to sort of make sure that you don't bonk your head, because if you bonk your head, then you want to get to the point as fast as possible, right? So don't bonk your head. Take some practice. It's worth doing. If you have master riding free, don't bother doing that. You can, but it's slower than if you just go up the top door and just go under. So basically, master riding 1, no master riding 1, or master riding 2, take the jump, don't bonk your head, go under. If you have master riding free, just go through main, still go under, like this. For dismounts as a support, that's usually going to be your job. You're going to be trying to get dismounts. There's 2 angles. There's this angle, then there's an angle right here. They both work. It's personal preference. Doesn't really matter which one you like. I like this one, and that's what I practiced. So I'm running for AOC now, which is something that I wasn't doing when I was recording the last videos. So go vote, smile. You can shoot through the gates, get dismounts. Very good as a support. It's your job. So number 1 mistake I see people make is playing from this corner right here. This corner is not great because... Well, let's think about how your team usually wants to play this, right? You're usually going to have 1 tank over here, right? So playing like down here, or... like generally just like this sort of area, right? And you're going to have 1 tank playing over here, contesting barn, contesting point. So if you're here, you're not going to be able to help your DPS that's going to be in windows, and healing over there is going to be very difficult, and you're also vulnerable to being pushed out. So most of the time as a support, you're going to be playing in the windows right here. It's not as good for seeing the people inside there. There's like this huge wall in the way, right? But most of the time you're going to be Ying or Grover or Genos or Corvus or something. Like most of the time you're not really going to need LOS on the people in there. So don't bother. If you do need LOS and your team's like playing really heavily in there, then yeah, that's fine. But I wouldn't rely on it, and I would only do it like if this position doesn't really work for you. That being said, this is gonna be your standard position, right? You can play back here. Don't play main. It's just this like just here. It's just safer, right? You have all these windows to play with. You can rotate to anywhere pretty safely, pretty quickly. So yeah, just start windows. There's 2 ways that a mid fight on Ice Mines goes. Either some sort of big fight happens over there, or some sort of big fight happens over here. Whichever side happens, you want to enable your team. You want to enable the aggression and all that fun stuff. So let's say your Ashe just like is playing like this corner, or maybe she's on the stairs, and all of a sudden she just dashes over here. That'd be a good time for you as the support to rotate from your spot in windows to like somewhere over here, or this corner, or something, right? Like your tanks are usually going to be making a decent amount of space on this map. Somewhere, right? It's the same thing if one of them pushes through barn, you can like follow up on that. You guys are going to get to hear my bot reloading, I'm sorry. So yeah, push up on the mids, but generally like you're not going to be moving outside of windows. Like 90% of the mids you'll just stay within this area. So that's really it. For the defense, so if your team is full holding, then the most important thing is just like stick with your team, stick with your DPS, right? So follow your DPS wherever they go. You generally want to be holding corners. Like, let's say we're full holding on this side of the map, right? Don't just like stand in the open, right? If you're holding this corner, well, you don't want to hold the corner, right? Because then you're holding half your tanks, and they just ignore your tanks and shoot you. So generally, you can play like this corner, or you can play this corner if you really want to. If your team's playing over here, you can play over here. Because if you're full holding, you're not trying to win the fight. You're trying to. If you're not full holding to win fights, you're full holding to waste time. So even if you do lose, it's not the biggest idea. Not the biggest deal, as long as your team doesn't stagger. But for normal defenses is going to be a choke. Well, it's going to be like one choke that's like this sort of line, right? In that case, you're generally just going to be holding these boxes. I don't think you can shoot through them. I could be wrong on that, but I'm not 100%. Plus EV projectiles, I don't know. Basically, like, even though there's a hole there, don't worry about it. Generally, you're going to be playing this corner, and you're probably thinking, well, if someone comes around there, you're pretty much dead. Yes, you are. So if you think that the other team is coming around there, you have two options, right? You can either like back up and use the hill and like spam them out like this and hug the wall, or you can push up and sort of like play here or play in here. This is the riskier, right? But it's only an option if someone pushes you out there. So again, play the corner, hug walls, and that's about it. So the next choke is really sort of like you'd expect it to be like this corner maybe, or like maybe here or something. You know, it's really not. It's more of like this line, which is like really weird, right? Because most of like basically pushing around this side is going to be bad most of the time. So you want to put your team in a position where if they do come around from this flank area, then you will survive. So that usually for you is going to mean that you're either playing this corner back here, or you're going to be playing like near these boxes, right? Again, using the cover, all that fun stuff. I wouldn't really push up past here at this point. This point it starts getting risky because then you have to like back up, and most movement abilities won't get you to the next corner. So these boxes are fine because you can hide behind here and all that fun stuff. But usually you're gonna be playing here. It kind of depends. Like usually you don't have too much of a choice because there's usually a big fight going on in this sort of area. So again, don't try to full hold too hard because people will come around from there. So hug this wall or just play over here. For the last defense, so there's two options, right? Last choke is like this. Here, let me get my blink cooldown back. It's just this line, right? It's, you know, sort of like this line. So there's two options for you. One, and spawn. This is pretty safe, right? This is safe if you're like a Damba or a Ying or something like that, right? Something with range, play in spawn door, you're safe, you'll be fine. If you're something like a Grover or a Genos, and you don't have that much range, I mean, Genos you can probably play spawn too. But if you're a Grover especially, Grover is super common on this map. You want to play like this sort of area, right? Because you're going to have a tank and a DPS, usually, protecting top right. And you're going to have your main tank either contesting there or contesting the cart. So you want to be playing with your team, because this is like this point sucks, right? Defending with Grover usually just is the worst. So being able to LLS things like this and hold up here, very good. If your team isn't holding up here, because like most of the time, yeah, you are going to be holding here. You're going to be spamming down this corner. You can always back up down here. This is safe, technically, but it's not very good positioning. So I will be careful. If you are dropping, don't drop off to the ramp or next to the ramp, because sometimes you'll land on this and your head will still be peeking out. You want to make sure that you drop next to the box. That has definitely got me killed against snipers before, so a bit careful. You can also try dropping off here using these boxes. It's fine. Wouldn't advise it. Not very safe. That's really it for the defense, right? Like the chokes, they're not obvious, but the positioning itself is like pretty straightforward, right? It's just gonna be hugging walls. It's like here or in spawn on the defense, hugging this wall or playing over near wooden, or I don't know, callouts, playing like the boxes. Or if the cart is just pushing, you can play here or here if you're getting flanked. And on the mid, it's just going to be windows. If you are pushing, let's pretend that we swap side. All of a sudden, we're pushing. So you're gonna be on cart, right? You're the support. You're pushing cart, and the cart's going to get to about this corner. Make sure that the cart, make sure that you don't like push up. Try to back up and run into the cart that pushes you forward into the LOS of the other team. Definitely happened to me before. So just be careful of that. Again, I mean, it's not complicated, right? Like, where else are you gonna go? You don't really have too much to play. You're just gonna be playing these corners. That's really it. From corner to corner. It's not too much to it. You're also usually gonna be pushing cart like the entire way, right? Like, if a fight happens, yeah, by all means, go high ground, help your team win the fight. Then you can drop. Then you can push cart, right? But yeah, you're like, most of the time on this map, again, you're not going to be something that needs LOS. Or if you are, then you drafted it for the mid fight, not for the push. So you're pushing cart, you're doing Grover things, and it doesn't change unless you want to, like, if you want to help your team up here, like, yeah, by all means, like, go up here, help the team win the fight, but your job is to push cart. So take a high ground if you need to, but most of the time you're going to be pushing cart. You're going to be pushing cart as long as you can. If the other team lets you roll the cart in, then you're going to roll the cart in. But usually once it gets to like this area, they're going to say, hey, wait, we should probably like stop the cart, right? And at that point, they'll start shooting you. Be very careful, because you dying on Ice Mines tends to start like a 45-second long stagger in ranked. So definitely be more cautious than anything. Once you do get to this part of the map, they're going to take the high ground. Usually it's going to be right here, this sort of angle. If you want to, you can take one of the high grounds. This is fine, right? Just don't play on the low ground, because you're not going to get anything done from here. You're very dangerous. You're very exposed. Well, you're not dangerous. You just have their main tank to shoot, and that's it. And if their main tank is smart, they'll contest from up here. And what are you going to do then? So there's nothing you can do from main. Take one of the high grounds. That's really it on this map. Like, that's the general theme, right? Main is where you go to push the cart. High grounds is where you go if you want to take the fight. And other than that, it's just going to be like knowing which angles exist. Knowing that here LOS is the flank route, but here doesn't, right? Knowing like how to peek the boxes, and standing here will get you killed, but standing here is fine. So stuff like that. But overall, it's like a pretty simple map. If the summer I haven't mentioned, then it's probably because it's like risky or it doesn't really do anything. Like on the mids, like don't play down here. You're just gonna get spammed out by DPS. You're gonna have to back up. You can't see anything from here. I unironically see a lot of people stand in main. Don't do that. You're gonna get shot. Like, so yeah, don't get shot. That's pretty cool. So yeah, just to recap, play on the windows until your team makes a move, and then follow them. On the defense, you're gonna hold corners back here and push up if you get flanked. On the rest of the map, on the second choke rather, play back here. You watch below the flank. If they're not on the flank, then like feel free to like push up and hold this corner. That's fine. Or back here. On last choke, if you're Grover, you're gonna want to be playing in this tunnel. If you're not Grover, play in spawn. On the push cart as long as you can. And if a fight happens, move up to one of the high grounds and take the fight there. That's whichever high ground is up to you, and it really depends on the situation. The last thing, little tech that I will add, I can't really show you guys. Well, I mean, I could, but it would take like too long. You can push cart if you are walking along the edge of this. It's risky, or it's not risky, but it's like it's not very useful. It's cool. You can show that you know the game. So you can do it if you want to, but it doesn't really do too much. Just I see some people do it. Sometimes I do it for fun, but like if you're a Grover, sometimes it can be value because then you can like sort of do this, and that's cool. But generally not too useful. So hopefully this version I recorded the right POV. We'll see you guys next time.